back to Weekend Breakfast with me, David Bull, here on TalkTV. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Fantastic messages coming in. So I asked, given, obviously it's been a turbulent week in politics, the fact is we had the Labour Party conference, Keir Starmer's speech, wasn't totally impressed by that. But then, of course, the government went and then kicked a massive own goal by not involving the OBR, having a mini fiscal event, not a budget. And so obviously the opinion polls are reflecting that, with Labour now out at 55%. That's unbelievable. And Conservatives at 23%. And so I'm asking this morning, has it made you change the way that you're going to vote? You know, are you a lifelong Conservative voter, for example? Have you switched allegiances? Have you decided that Labour maybe has detoxified and maybe you can trust Labour with the economy? Let me know your thoughts on that. 0344 499 1000. Text the word talk and your message to 87222. You can also tweet us at TalkTV and tweet me at Dr. David Bull. Now, loads of messages coming in here. And I said that I wasn't totally impressed by Keir Starmer's speech. Brendan Silver says, David, I was driving whilst listening to Talk Radio when Starmer was giving his speech. I wouldn't recommend listening to Starmer whilst driving or operating heavy machinery, as I nearly fell asleep behind the wheel. Things are not great, but Labour would be worse. Very funny. Love that one. Thank you very much indeed. Jane says, hi, David. Before anyone votes Labour, they should go to Wales. They are in charge there. The NHS is worse. See for themselves if they want this for the rest of the UK. This one says, Dr. Bull, very formal this morning. I will not vote again until there is a massive political change in this country. I don't trust any party to deliver what they say they will. I think Labour will get in at the next general election, not because of their manifesto, but because of Tory failures and people not voting due to the politician and normal people disconnecting. And that disconnect is only going to get worse. Thank you very much indeed for those. Well, it's time for today's paper review. And joining us is the wonderful Steve Denyer.
Good morning. Good morning, Dr. Bull.
Good morning,
and Lady Barsby. How are you both?
Yeah, I can go. Good morning, Mr. Denyer.
Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you too.
Welcome to the weekend. Here we are.
Yes, here we are indeed. And the paper's full of all sorts of things.
Yes, I mean, I wanted to start with the Telegraph because the Chancellor's written an article for them. I mean, he's saying, wait and see what's going to happen at the end of November when he publishes his new report. But, it's interesting. Last night I was out with friends and if I'm to be honest with you, David, none of us, we were chatting about it, none of us have a real idea of what we've been through in the last week and what it's going to mean for us in the long term as well. So, I mean, he's saying, November 23rd, there will be a statement on the government's long-term financial plans. It's an important move. But then you think, well, you've seen how the markets have reacted this week and all the uncertainty. Is this just kicking the problem down the road?
So I think for me, what was really interesting about this is, and I think it's fine to have a mini fiscal event, and I thought that actually that was a good way to proceed. Where I think it went horribly wrong, they didn't involve the OBR, the Office for Budget Responsibility. Now, that was a mistake, because if the OBR had actually underwritten it and said these are fine, we agree with the majority of it or whatever, then the markets wouldn't have reacted in the same way. But there's one other point here, which is the ONS had basically made a prediction about where we are, and they had said we are in recession, and that also had an impact on the way the markets bet. And so it was this, for me, it was this dual nonsense of what they did wrong, but also this incorrect prediction that caused the markets to panic. They were selling the pound dropped to the lowest level ever. The Bank of England then had to, it was selling gilts, then it was buying gilts. It didn't really know which way it was going, but the pound has stabilised. Is that how you read it?
Help me here.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way, but I think also it's I'm just looking at headless chickens, I feel. I'm more concerned about what the government is capable of doing than I am about what they've done at this stage. I think that's my worry. What's happening next? And if surely you've got a bunch of civil servants who should be advising you, Mr. Chancellor, what on earth were they doing? And does anybody actually know what they're doing? Because,
This is what I was going to say. Is anybody in control?
Yes, it doesn't feel like it.
I feel quite unsettled.
Yeah.
And
do you?
Increasingly.
I think most people do in this country.
Because I don't know what's going on, but I don't think anybody else knows what's going on. And especially this weekend, we're all thinking about energy bills. You were saying about submitting your meter reading. Yeah. I've done that, but I don't know what that's actually going to mean until I get, and it's worrying. It is unsettling. It's what people are talking talking about at the moment. We've got Christmas coming up. We've got, bigger bills because the weather's getting colder.
Food inflation. I mean, food is extortionately expensive.
But it's dramatic, isn't it? Those price rises.
It really is. And noticeable.
I was saying this on the talk earlier this week, that actually it's changed the way I shop. I now shop in different shops. I look at the stickers, 3 for 2s, all that kind of stuff. And I'm actually making purchasing decisions based on the price of things, which I would not normally do, like meat, for example.
Yes, that's a really good example.
But it's the families that I do worry for families. I mean, it's just me and the cat's okay. She can handle it if I go down a peg with the food. Yeah. Maybe.
What about the heating, though?
Oh, no, she's fine with that.
Is the heating on yet? Have you put the heating
on?
But she's got a fur coat.
I've got a whole cat. She's quite a large animal as well, so she's quite warming.
She may not be much longer.
That's very true. She's on a diet. But I think it's, for me, I'm sitting there thinking, well, my food bill's gone up, but there's just me to look after, so it's not so bad. But imagine if you do have, you're a family of 4 and you've got kids and everything's gone up. You can't say to your kids, everything's gone up. You can't say, look, no crisps for you this week, John. This week you're going to have a banana. No, you can't afford a banana. This week you can have an apple. And you can't do that to kids because kids are blooming hard work.
Well, they are, and then also I was reading the irony of people who can't afford to fill up their cars with petrol, so they can't get to work to earn the money they need to pay for these inflated prices.
But that's another thing. I mean, fuel is still inflated and it's still too high. It should be less than it is. And the REC are banging on about this. When will someone from government come in and say, right, this is too expensive. Yeah. You're still 10 to 12p over a litre. Bring it in, rein it down, and when will that happen? That will bring down inflation. So it's all these sort of...
It's all like checking all the papers. It's everything. It's the housing markets, it's pensions, it's bills, it's food prices. It's the perfect storm, is it?
Let me just ask you a maverick question. How much of this is actually the journalists who have been away for the whole of August, who are now back and having a field day? And I did get a sense, certainly looking at the Labour Party conference and the way they were whipping that up, and the Conservative Party conference, which starts tomorrow. I just wonder how much of that is the way we report stuff as well. I mean, clearly it hasn't gone very well for the government, but having said that, now the pound is stabilising.
And it's only been a week.
It's only right. She's only been in the job 3 weeks.
And we've had the incident with the Queen, of course. In between. It could be 2 years until the next election. A week is a long time in politics, isn't it? Exactly. Let alone what's going to be, on our place in the next couple of years. So maybe we should all just...
So what do you think she should do, or he should do, Kwasi Kwarteng? Should he stick with it and ride it out, given the pound is up, given the markets look a little more settled, and also they're talking about actual fiscal restraint, and that's really important, because if they see that government departments are cutting budgets, also, by the way, the energy price cap thing is now forecast to be half what it was.
Right.
So do they ride it out, or does he rip it up and say, okay, we're going to change some stuff?
We just need more explanation, I think, at the moment.
Or does he rip it up?
Well, we just need to be told better. We need to feel that people are in control, and there just needs to be better explanations of what's going on, I think.
The other issue, of course, is that you get expert. I'm no expert, but say you get expert A and expert B. Expert A and expert B are completely different sides, and surely this is actually, it's a positive. It's a tangible amount. So I don't understand. It's not like it's art. Oh, I like that painting.
So it's not subjective.
No, that's it. Yeah. So this is something you can actually. These are numbers.
It is subjective though, because of course it's not a science. It is not.
But there are numbers.
I'm getting confused again.
No, fine. Anyway, all I would say was that if they rip it all up and say, actually, this was not the right idea, I think the markets would be very unstable. So I've come round to the idea that they stick with it, they get their next budget together, they get the OBR in, and actually then let's take it from there.
Let's see how it pans out. That kind of thing.
Do you think they should bring forward the statement from November a little bit?
I do, actually.
Yeah. I think that might help.
Well, they may have to. Shall we move on to something completely different?
Yes.
The Mirror.
I mean, another really heavy story. The headline in the Mirror is Prince plea for online safety after Molly. Now, this follows the father of teenager Molly Russell yesterday, who demanded Mark Zuckerberg listen and act as a coroner found social media contributed to her death. That was quite a thing yesterday, wasn't it? Following on from that, around tea time last night, Prince William got involved and said there really needs to be more, we need to find out how these social media firms are going to change their ways so that this incident doesn't happen anymore. And it all comes down to, I mean, social media isn't run by people, is it? It's run by computers and algorithms. And, just reading this awful story, and it is awful in every single way. I'm thinking of my nieces. My nieces, Hattie and Lily, they're both getting into their teenage years. They've both got phones now. They both look at Instagram. If you put a hashtag in any subject matter within Instagram, it will predict things.
Is that right?
And you can end up going, in a rabbit warren of just nonsense or quite disturbing material.
So in terms of the verdict, it said Molly died from an act of self-harm while suffering from depression and negative effects of online content. What I didn't realise, although it's a blow to the tech giants, there is actually no power to take criminal action against those massive social media firms. And the thing that really struck me was that she died 2 hours after viewing Instagram.
Yeah.
It's really tragic.
It's awful. The pressure. I mean, a long time ago when I was a teenager, I didn't have phones. There wasn't anything like that. And it was still hard. And now, I'm a 48-year-old woman, but I still get adverts coming over on my feeds on Facebook, so lose weight fast. And you're like, really? Give me a break. And even though probably, yes, I could lose a few pounds.
You look lovely.
Thank you, that's kind. But imagine if you're an impressionable young girl or an impressionable young man. It doesn't have to be
I think there's other aspects as well. Obviously, parents need to be aware of what their kids are looking at. Maybe there needs to be more lessons in school. About
it's a good point,
the
actually.
problems.
Well, and certainly with my nephews and nieces, I'm always telling them that this isn't real, and particularly when they see photos of glamorous young people, they're not real, are they? They're airbrushed, and all of this reality is not reality. And I think we do need to educate children far more into the dangers of this kind of stuff. Interestingly, they are proposing a new law which they would be allowed to fine them 10% of their turnover, which would be very significant, isn't it? It would be, it would be millions, tens of millions.
Money to a life, though. Haven't they got any conscience? These guys, I think they're just so... Mark Zuckerberg is like a robot.
It's just got so big, isn't it? It's all the whole thing, the whole social media thing, it's almost so big it's out of control.
Yeah.
And how do you govern something?
This morning, actually, I was messaging someone on WhatsApp, and at the bottom it now says Meta. And I hadn't really twigged that WhatsApp was Meta, which is Facebook.
Yes.
Do they own Instagram as well?
Yes.
You see? So they own them all.
It's all connected, isn't it?
That's the thing.
All connected.
I mean, it's tragic.
It's
Something
terrifying.
needs to be done. But then what do you do? Because with young people, you can't... I mean, I learned the other day on this show, actually, that you can put in parental controls remotely onto those phones and stuff. But, ultimately, the parents have to trust the children.
Yeah. And the parents need to search as well. I mean, I'm sure my sister looks at my niece's phones and just has an overview. She's kind of like, you've got to be the boss. You've got to be the boss.
Yeah, you've got... I mean, there's independence for kids, but you've also got to be a parent.
Yeah, we've got to learn from this Molly Russell. I think everyone's got to learn.
Her father handled himself so beautifully.
Because you can't even imagine what it would be like to be in that situation. It's somebody's worst nightmare, isn't it? And to have the courage to go on television and to be so calm and so eloquent, I mean, that's amazing. It really was an amazing thing to see.
Let's move to The Sun now, the front page of The Sun.
Yes.
Not we buy any car, but we dump any star.
Yeah, Philip Schofield. I like it. I like the delivery. Philip Schofield's been apparently ditched by We Buy Any Car. You're very proud of that.
I am actually quite proud of that.
Smile.
I know, I was swinging at Tom. He was chuckling.
I must ask you guys, I mean, we're a couple of weeks on, maybe 2 weeks on from the queue jumping incident with Philip and Holly, and it's still, I mean, that petition was 75,000 people have signed a petition saying they should be sacked. It's rumbling on. They're still trending. We've had companies like Domino's trying to be funny with their, just the pizza thing last week. They said, sorry if your pizza's delayed. Phil and Holly called us, and you've been... and it didn't help the matter.
That's terrible.
What's your thinking of this?
I don't care.
You don't care?
I couldn't care less.
Do you think it was a bad look 2 weeks ago?
100%.
Of course it was.
Wasn't it?
But
I mean, you have Beckham who queued all that time.
Or did he?
No, he did.
He did.
Well, I heard he did.
National treasure
Anything
David
else?
Beckham.
National
I mean, the thing is, it's just again bad politics.
Yeah.
You just don't do it. And
It was a bad look, wasn't
they
it?
said they were filming, but what were they filming that they couldn't have got
Yeah.
off the stock footage?
But also, are there any other people, any other journalists that actually queue jumped? I mean, I didn't know that. Actually, as a journalist, I could have done that.
Could you?
Yeah, apparently
I know
I could.
journalists who did.
I didn't.
But the thing was, they were brought into a holding area,
Yeah.
away from public view
penned.
and away from camera view. So it was kind of an area that you couldn't see if we were looking at the live feed. Philip and Holly walked through, and it was almost like, you know, the members of the public kind of got barged away. It just wasn't a good look, and you've got to read the room. And I don't think the apology afterwards
was good enough.
enough.
No. So in terms of what's happening now?
So they, We Buy Any Car are filming new adverts next week, and Philip Schofield is no longer the face of the advert. And the Sun is reporting today that he's been ditched from his, it's a 7-figure salary alone just for that sponsorship. So that's what I'm being told at the moment. And as I say, this incident's still rumbling on because it's still trending on Twitter.
And so where does it go from here?
What do you think? I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, they're still on the programme.
It's such a, again,
Can they weather it? I mean, it's only 2 weeks.
Well, I tell you what, why don't they swap places with Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng and see how they get on in each other's
Job swap.
Yeah,
And see if they can come up with an economic plan.
You never know. You
Yeah,
never
well,
know.
They probably could.
They
probably could.
May be able to do that. Well, certainly with the viewers calling in, they probably have a better one. Okay, Daily Mail.
Daily Mail, this is a story that's also been rumbling on for the last few weeks. Victoria Beckham, she looked so happy yesterday. So Victoria Beckham's inaugural show at Paris Fashion Week took place yesterday. She has been photographed this week looking moody and pensive. But she broke down in tears yesterday. She's reunited with Nicola Peltz, of course, who's the son. It's not Romeo. Is it Romeo Beckham's?
You're asking me things about the Beckhams.
Basically, huge feud within the Beckhams
Yes.
between Victoria Beckham
Yes.
and it's Romeo, isn't it? It's Romeo. Brooklyn's. Yeah.
Brooklyn.
You know, it's every family has problems.
Yes.
These guys were having problems.
Right.
David Beckham got involved. Apparently, he laid down the law, which I don't think I can't even picture him getting angry about anything.
Do you think he queued for it?
But what I'm trying to say is Victoria Beckham looks very, very happy this morning on the front page
Right.
of the Daily Mail, and it looks like you don't really care about this.
Not really. I mean, isn't that awful? I mean, I literally just
I just saw
over.
you glazing over.
Again, it's two people
I would like to be a fly on the wall of what's happened because she's from a very, very, very rich family, and I think he's been spending more time with her family.
Right.
There was a huge row over her wedding dress, and apparently Victoria Beckham not getting involved. This is where it all started.
Right.
And things have been said in the press. Victoria Beckham's been hounded. I'm trying my best here.
You're doing a
I'm
great
trying to
job.
sell this story
Yeah.
to you. No, okay, well,
Yeah.
let's move on then.
No, let's move on.
Okay, all right.
What's next?
Got the Daily Star. I just like this because I just want to get a Barsbys response. Page 25 of the Daily Star. Pay rise. No thanks. Just give me a hug from the boss. 1 in 10 workers would rather get a hug from the boss than a pay rise. They would just rather be told I'm doing all
Who
right.
are these people?
Well, I don't know. I haven't met one of them.
Maybe their boss is David Beckham, I don't know.
Would you like to get a hug from
No,
your
I'd
boss?
rather not, thank you.
Oh.
I've had some very interesting bosses over my 23-year career, and I really wouldn't like a hug from any of them. I've got to be perfectly honest with you. I wouldn't like to mention my boss right now because he might sack me. But no, I'd like
So
to.
pay rise or hug from the current boss?
I'll have money.
I think both, actually. Both.
Both.
You know what I love from bosses? Even if I just get a pat
Yes.
and just told, I like this or whatever, it can really go a long way if you feel that you're worthy.
Feedback is what
Feedback.
I'd like. I'd like someone to say, well done, you did a really good job this week. That never happens. It's very rare you get
Doesn't it?
that. No, not so
But
much.
you see, that kind of stuff is great management. If you just take someone aside, say a few good words
all you
about
need.
what you've done, it makes you feel so much
Yeah.
better, doesn't it? And it makes you more engaged in your job. It doesn't cost any money.
No.
And, of course, so few bosses actually do it.
We all need to be loved. I mean, I always think I'm like a little flower that needs to be watered.
We love you.
Every now and again.
You
Like
are,
your shirt.
you are definitely a little flower. And you need to be watered and loved. You do. And you need light.
Just love me just a little bit.
We all
This has been like a therapy session this morning. I thank both of you for having me.
Oh, no, absolute pleasure. Right, anything else?
That's it, really. That's an overview of the weekend's news. Victoria Beckham's happy again, and we all don't know what's going on in our daily lives. So I hope it's everybody.
That's okay, let's have a hug.
Let's have a hug.
Let's have a hug and everyone's happy.
Yes.
Right, I'm going to read out some messages. Dan in Kent, very good morning to you. Dan says, good morning, David. With the way the Tories are destroying themselves, I predict David Bull MP in 2024. Yeah. This one from Jacqueline saying, well, they gave a 1% tax break to all. They froze national insurance. The Bank of England predicted a recession, and they got that wrong. That's what we've been saying, isn't it? I mean, so again, I do wonder, actually, with all of these bodies, do any of them actually know what they're doing?
Well, that's the thing. What I'm saying. It seems they're so completely opposed to each other in their viewpoints. It's how on earth are you ever supposed to make any sense of it if the so-called experts are clashing over the same things?
Yeah. Let me just read this one. I've just pulled out off the motorway to send this. I am incandescent. It's childish and puerile to trot out tax cuts for the rich. Engage your brain. It's about attracting money here and keeping money here. These people have choices. I agree with that. So that's why I said, actually, the 45p tax rate, I think is probably the right policy. All I said was that I just wonder about the political timing of that. But this goes on to say 1% of earners pay 29% of tax. Think on that. We're on the coattails. We need more and more high earners for our ever-growing population who don't pay very much, if anything. We don't punish the poor. Our tax rate going down, and it goes on about energy bills and so on and so on. And thank you very much indeed for that. I don't think there was actually a name on that one. But there is a serious point there, which actually I think, and you made this point, Jenny, it was a small amount of money, relatively. I mean, it's still a lot of money. But wouldn't it have been better if they hadn't just mentioned it at this point?
Yeah, I think just hold off on that. Say that it's something you're thinking about, maybe considering for your November statement, mini budget.
Or at least say this is the direction of travel.
Yeah.
This is where we're hoping to get to.
Because in the end, again, going back to that, it's such a minuscule amount of money, 2 billion. I would like 2 billion, though. If anybody has 2 billion.
Wouldn't go amiss.
But in the grand scheme of things, you think what the cost of capping the price cap on the energy is going to be. That's a lot of money, and that's a drop in the ocean. But it's the timing of it. And I think, read the room, Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng and Philip and Holly. Those four could actually really learn quite a lot from each other, couldn't they?
Similarity in stories.
I think you're taking this too far. And this is quite interesting, though, from Donna, who is actually saying, David, I can't believe some Conservative MPs are talking about a no-confidence vote already in Liz Truss. Whilst Putin obviously becoming increasingly erratic, the government needs to focus less on what some people are saying on social media and focus more on political stability and governing the country. That goes back to the point I made, which actually is now they've done it, surely the best course of action is to stay the course, bring in the OBR, shore it up, actually give the markets confidence, and I think they'll get through it.
Yeah, but they have to make that statement, and I think they will be pushed this week. Certainly at the Tory Party conference, I think there'll be lots of pushing towards that, bringing forward that statement from the end of November, and maybe making it the end of October. Even if you just give just some highlights from it, just something to make people have a bit more confidence.
Well, so it's going to be really interesting, isn't it, with Conservative Party conference?
Well, I was going to ask you. I mean, what do you expect to happen?
I think there's pretty much warfare breaking out in the Conservative Party.
You arrive there tomorrow, don't you?
Well, I'm actually there for a different party, for a Reform UK's conference, but which is happening at the same time in the same city. Right. I go today, actually, after this show, which is why Christo's stolen my show tomorrow. I asked him nicely if he'd done. But what we're seeing is infighting the Tory MPs, and they're brilliant at this, aren't they? Of tearing each other apart.
We saw it, didn't we?
We've seen it so many times, and so there's that. Rishi Sunak is also, I mean, make no mistake, he's clearly behind some of this, isn't he?
Yes.
Because he's saying I was right all along. He's staying away from conflict.
Yeah, he's being very silent.
Yes.
Interesting. What do you think? I mean, obviously, you only get to see what you want to see. A lot of the time, the fringe events, particularly, are not on camera, which is a shame because some of them can be quite interesting.
Yes, Michael Gove's all over it. He's doing 8 events.
8? How much do you get paid for that?
I don't think he does.
I'm sure.
I mean, maybe he does.
Maybe he does.
I don't.
But will there be some backbiting, public backbiting? When Liz Truss does her speech, her keynote speech, are people going to be there? Are they going to clap? Are they going to boo? Is she going to get a different reaction?
So, well, it's interesting, having been to these conferences, and obviously I was a Conservative PPC years ago, there is a feeling when you're there that you are also very aware it's being televised, this is the big showcase, and so you do want to support your Prime Minister.
We'll see.
We will.
We've had some interesting ones with Theresa May a few years ago. Do you remember the letters falling down?
I know.
Somebody handing in her notice. I mean,
right.
anything can happen at these things.
That's my favourite one. It's her dancing on stage with the letters dropping off the background. It was just starting to spell something disastrous behind. Oh my goodness! Thank you very much indeed.
It's lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you, and thank you very much indeed, Jenny. You're not going anywhere, but thank you very much indeed for the moment. This is Talk TV. We're broadcasting live from the Talk Radio studios.